Hey everybody, and welcome back to Make, Do, Tell Comics, where we learn comic making techniques and basics. My name is Samantha and I'm a youth librarian with the Kansas City Public Library. I also happen to be an illustrator and a comic book artist, so I've been making comics my whole life and I really like it, and I love being able to share this my passion with you guys every single week. It's been so much fun. If you'd like to see some of the other videos I've made, be sure to check back on our channel and look at those older episodes. I believe this is episode 9, so if you're just tuning into this one, you've missed quite a few, which is fine. You can just jump in here, no big deal. But there definitely are some more fundamental techniques that we've been learning in the last one that I think you should check out, especially since not the next episode, but the episode after, we'll be kind of pulling from a lot of different lessons that we've learned and putting them together to make a more cohesive comic strip. So we're kind of starting to bring all these strings together into one and actually make some really good stories. Remember to subscribe to our channel so that you can see all of the great content we're putting up. Looking forward, we're just going to be doing more and more of this so that we can try to reach kids in their homes. And I don't really have much to talk about. I just want to get started. We're going to talk about something really, something that you probably have not thought about when it comes to making comics, but something that's so obvious when you point it out, and that is drawing different angles. So if you think of comic making kind of like a movie, you know that there are think of when you're watching a movie and you're looking at where the camera is pointing, right? You are the camera in a movie. When a camera moves, it changes the angle of how you're looking at the characters in the movie. This is the same with comics. You can take different views and angles, and that can really affect the way that your story is being told. For instance, if you're really up close to something, you're going to feel more personal, you're going to feel like you have less space, you're going to feel like that character is important. If you're far away, you're going to feel like you have lots of space, you're going to feel more emptiness maybe, you're going to feel like you're less personally close to the character and it's more about the setting. If you're looking up at a character, that can affect how the character is being viewed in the panel. If you're looking down into a character, that can also affect things. So what we're going to do is divide up our paper like we have before, and using some really simple shapes, we're going to make different kinds of angles that can affect the story. So I'm going to pull out my blue marker. And what we're going to do is we're going to divide our page in half like we have done so many times, right down the middle. And then we're going to divide it into 3. We're going to make 6 panels altogether. And we're not going to go through the trouble of making the panel within a panel because this isn't a story. This is just 6 examples, so we're just going to cut the page into 6 pieces. And I like to kind of use my fingers to get an idea of how far apart I need to space these. Help make it even as possible. Okie dokie. Okay, so I'm going to show 6 different angles of just circles. And we're going to talk about what those angles mean and how you could possibly use them in your own comics. And then what we'll do is we'll go back and we'll actually make those little circles characters and show you how it really plays into the story. So the first one we're going to do is when you're looking down from up high onto something small. So let's say one of the circles takes up the whole page almost, and then you have a little circle right here. This is a character, and this is a character, and as you can see, this character looks big. It's looking down on this little character. When you do this, it can make the smaller character look scared or less important, or maybe this is a bully picking on a little kid, or maybe this is a monster telling a little creature that it's going to eat them. Whenever you're looking down on something, it's going to make it seem less important or frightened or those kinds of emotions. And the opposite, looking up at something, let's have the little character here, the big character, so big that it leaves the frame. So now we have something, we're looking up at a bigger character. So when we do this, there's lots of different things. You can still show that this little character is scared, that they're looking up at this massive monster or something. It can also be that this, when you're looking up at something, it's important. Maybe a little kid is looking up at a parent. The parent's important. The parent is telling them what to do. So like authority. There's lots of different ways you can use it. But just remember that the big character is going to seem dominant in these, and the little character is going to seem diminished or made small. So in the third one, let's draw the little circle out all by itself, just like that. So this is a far away. If you're really far away from this little circle, you're going to see lots of space. And the space can create a sense of loneliness. It can create a sense of being in an empty room, so isolated, or let's say your character is out in the woods and you pull back really far so they look small, you're going to get a sense that maybe they're lost. So you can use that in lots of different ways as well. This is just an up close. So we're going to cut the circle in half and just show half of it because the camera is so close to the circle that you only see half of it. And this is good for, let's say your character is talking to the reader. You want them right up here. So if I got right here and started talking to you, you would know that I am talking to you. The same with a character here. Really think about it like a movie. And then another good one, can you see? Okay. Is just two characters standing. Here's that big one, and here's that little one. You're not showing a huge difference in their size. It kind of like takes the drama out of it. So this is a very undramatic way of showing characters. This is simple. This is like, if you want to show two characters kind of having a boring interaction, like purposely boring, you would show them standing kind of far apart, awkwardly in the middle of the page, saying like, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? And just, it would be like, what? It's not a very dynamic way to show characters, but you want to use that sometimes. Sometimes you want something to be awkward or silly or to convey boring. And the opposite of that, if you want to make a character seem more like they're having a good conversation, I would say you could do their faces a little closer to the camera. So these two characters, let's say they're talking. We're zoomed in a little bit more, so we get a sense that maybe they're friends or they're excited to see each other. So using different angles, and there's so many more angles you can use. These are just 6 big ones that I'm going to show you. And now what I'm going to do is take my black marker, and we're actually going to put little faces on these and show them saying stuff so you can get an even better sense of how the angles affect stories. So let's trace our line. And trace our line. I'm going to need a new marker soon. Okay. So let's say that this is a big, mean character. So it's shouting down. And this character, so you get a sense that this one is yelling at this one, right? So maybe it's saying something like, "You better run." You get a sense that this character is big and scary, and this one is the one that's in trouble, right? Because it's small. And if you want to make big eyes like this, to convey how scared it is. Okay, and this one, remember, is the character that's bigger that we're looking up at is important. So maybe this is a little baby. Saying hugs. And this is a big character. Smiling and reaching down. So this character we know is important. The little kid is looking up to it. Now we have this circle out all by itself out in the lonesome. Let's trace it. Give it little eyes. Oh. And then we'll put the bubble floating also helps. You say, all alone. What is that noise? Something's going on outside my window. You get a sense that this little character is lost or abandoned. Like it needs to look more sad. There you go. All alone. Okay, remember this is the close-up. This is when the character is actually talking to the reader. So let's trace it. And they're just saying hi. But you know that they're saying hi to you, not to somebody else. It looks like this character is saying hi to you. So that's why taking up a big part of the screen and having them look directly straight ahead, you really want your character to talk to the reader. Okay, and I'm gonna push this down a little. So now we have, this was the undramatic one, so I'm gonna try to stay on the screen. So we have two characters. Just like that. You can already tell that their conversation is going to be boring. So let's say this one, how you been? And then this one's answering, meh. You get this sense of, this was a boring conversation. We should think it's boring. On the flip side, this one, could be the two same characters talking. But when they're close together like this, you just imagine that they're excited to see each other. Say the same thing. How you been? And then the character's saying, great, because we're zoomed in and they're happy to be close to each other and they're friends. Let's give them little arms. Great. So as you can see, how close you are to the characters or what angle you're taking from the perspective of the characters can really change the emotion of the story. And when you're drawing a comic strip, it can be really helpful to use different angles, not only to affect the emotions of the story, but also to not bore your readers. Because if you read the same panel of the same viewpoint over and over and over, it's going to be kind of boring, unless you're doing that on purpose for a reason. But it really helps to change up the angle because it creates a dynamic story and it helps you really, really, really lean into those emotions that you're trying to convey. And there are so many more angles that you guys could use. And maybe your at-home project today is to use these little circle characters that are super easy to draw and draw the shapes in different ways and see if that creates different emotions for you. So maybe you just cut the page in half into 6 parts, just like we did. Draw the circles randomly, different sizes and in different places, cut off at different angles, and see if a story doesn't start to develop on its own. Maybe you notice every time this circle is big and looking down on this circle, I want to write, I'm going to eat you. Or every time they're really little and far apart, I feel like they're yelling something really boring, like, what do you want for dinner? I don't care. You know, it's going to help you understand that the way you portray the characters within the panels is really important to the story. So with that said, next week we're going to draw a comic that combines the angles that we learned this week with the movement tricks that we learned last week. If you remember, we learned how to show something like going up and then falling down and that kind of thing. So we're going to combine this lesson and that lesson, and we're going to make a short comic strip that'll be really funny that I think you guys will really like. So look forward to that next week. And in the description below, we have the links to all of the library's website and social media links, so be sure to check that out. Remember that you can always tag the Kansas City Public Library on social media if you want to have a grown-up post your work, or if you're 13 and up and can post it yourself. Just tag at KC Library on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, and we will definitely see that. And thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you learned something about making angles in your comics, and I hope you're able to experiment with this and learn more and more about those angles, because that's how you can make a really dynamic story that is interesting and fun to read. So remember that the best way to become a comic book artist is to read comics and draw comics. And subscribe and check back on our channel for weekly elementary aged activities and programs. And I will see you next Wednesday at 1 o'clock. Bye guys!